You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Drought and Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business Book. Today we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Jake Madison of Locks and Unlocks. So welcome, Jake.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling today?
Great.
You ready to get grilled with a bunch of questions about business?
Bring it on.
Yay! That's what we'd like to hear. All right, so why don't you tell us, let's start first with your business name.
Locks and Unlocks Incorporated.
All right, and what does Locks and Unlocks do?
We are a mobile locksmith service provider. So we do things like rekeying your locks. If you purchase a new home, if you own a business and have employee changeover, we can change the locks so that they can't get back in anymore, that type of thing.
Okay, nice. So it's 24/7, 365, more or less?
We do offer 24-hour service, yes. I don't advertise it all that much because I don't like getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
The phone rings, we go. Yeah.
Right. I get you. Somebody wants to get in, they want to get in. All right. So how did you get involved in being a locksmith?
That's a question that I get quite often, actually.
All right.
Okay, so here's the story. I used to have a job tarping flatbed semis.
Okay.
So another company would load them up with pallets. I'd put tarps on them and stuff. And
Sure.
every day I'd have to wait an hour or two or sometimes even 3 for them to finish loading more trailers before I could tarp them. So I had a lot of downtime.
Okay.
I was trying to find a way to spend my time better than staring at the wall for 2 hours a day. And I came across the infomercial that had home study courses for getting your degree at home for bookkeeping and accounting and that kind of stuff. And they
Sure.
had locksmithing.
Okay.
So I thought, that'd be pretty cool to be able to get into houses and cars and safes and things that you're not supposed to be able to get into. And instead
Sure.
of going to jail, I get paid.
Huh.
So like,
Doesn't sound so bad.
that'd be kind of interesting. So
Yeah.
I took the course. I had lots of time to work on it, a couple
Okay.
hours a day. And so
Sure.
I flew through it. I did very well on it. And from there, I decided I wanted to pursue it as a career.
Nice.
So I looked around for the biggest locksmith I could find.
Okay.
And tried to get a job with them. They weren't hiring at the time.
Okay.
I filled an application anyway and called them a couple weeks later and they said, no, we're not hiring. And
Sure.
waited a couple weeks and called them again. They said, no, we're not hiring. This went on for a couple of months. And finally one day they called me and said, guess what? We're hiring and we thought of you.
Oh, nice. Top of mind.
Yeah. So I went and worked with them for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Loved,
Okay.
loved every minute of it.
Nice.
And then one day my boss got a call for making keys for a car.
Okay.
And he put them on hold and said, Jake, how do you make keys for this car? And I told him. And then afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm answering the tough questions, how come you get the big checks?
Sure. Right,
So
right.
I told my wife the story, and she's like, well, that's it. We're going to start our own business.
Oh, that's
I said, no,
fantastic.
theoretically, I could run the company. And she's like, no, you were going to. So we put a business plan together, started saving up money, and it was about a 2-year process. And we started Locks and Unlocks. And March will be our 13th
Oh,
anniversary.
wow. Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So that is to say that your wife is the one that said, you got to do this.
My wife is the visionary, yes. If
Okay.
it wasn't for her, we would not be in existence.
So you'd still be working for Joe, Bob, or Steve, whoever it is.
Yep. I'm an excellent employee, and she just made me an employee of myself.
Nice. All right. Does she have any experience in regards to entrepreneurship or running a business or anything? Or
This is the first business venture that we've done together.
Okay.
And we have done ever.
Sure.
So this is our first opportunity.
did she have a job at the time where it was like, because you're making money, right? There's something to be said about being an employee. You get your biweekly paycheck, whatever, time off, all that jazz.
Yeah, that's nice.
So starting your own business, you don't necessarily get those.
Right. She did have a job at the time, and when we decided to go out on our own, I honestly don't recall how long she kept it after that.
Sure.
But it was kind of a all hands on deck type thing when we
Okay.
started a business. And,
Sure.
She and I and my mother and father-in-law, actually the 4 of us started it together as a corporation. My father-in-law
Really?
was looking to retire from his job at the time.
Okay.
So he came over to help us because I can't run 24/7 by myself.
Sure, right.
So he came to help us out, and then and the 4 of us got the business going.
All right. So how did you decide? I'm always curious how people went through a business plan. So did you just sit down with a napkin and bang it away, or was it more formal than that?
It was definitely more formal. We ended up getting a computer program for building a business plan, and it went through it step by step by step, and you put in all your numbers, and it made pie charts and graphs, and made it really pretty and colorful. And we took it to the bank, and they said, "Holy cow, here's a bunch of money."
Nice. Well, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah.
So 13 years ago, that was also probably a decent time economy-wise, right?
2005.
Okay.
So, yeah,
so right before, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure. I started my business, my first one in 2006, which was right on the cusp.
Right.
When I feel like some people knew what was going on and others were oblivious. So
I didn't have a clue.
yeah. So, interesting. That's awesome. So how was your wife involved in the business now?
She is instrumental right now. She does all the behind the works, bookworking and accounting and taxes and payroll and everything that makes a business run. I just go play with locks all day.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay, so she's an integral part.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a big deal. And you're working with a spouse, so sometimes that can be a challenge, I imagine. You have to live with them, right?
Yeah, there are times.
I can't imagine living with an employee of mine that I've ever had. But maybe that's because, I guess the common denominator is me. I'm not sure.
Right.
But I wonder, has there ever been any challenges with that? Bad day at the office, and then you go home, and oh, you're right here.
Not usually.
Okay.
No, but there are times she's like, "Jake, I just need you to stop being my husband and be my coworker for a minute, and this is what I got to tell you. This is what you got to do, and you're not gonna want to hear it.
All right.
But this is what I got to tell you."
That's fair. Okay, so she has some directness that's appreciated, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can save a lot of time. That's awesome. So you've been around 13 years. What have been some of the challenges with starting your business? I imagine getting a loan. Can you talk us through that? Sometimes I hear horror stories, and other times I feel like people are given barrels of money that they don't know what to do with from the bank.
Well, our situation was we were looking for a startup loan.
Okay.
We've got our business plan put together.
Sure.
And because we were new to the area, I moved out of the service area of the previous locksmith I worked with out of respect for them. I didn't want to step on their toes.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I moved out of their area, which was new to us. So like I mentioned, we started the business with my mother and father-in-law.
Yeah.
Well, at least parents. And they had a well-established relationship with a bank in town.
Nice.
And so we took our loan with them to the bank, and we ended up having to put one of our houses on the loan for collateral,
Sure.
et cetera. And,
Sure.
but yeah, we were able to get a loan through them, and that's what got us started.
Nice. Very cool. Was it a big deal, or did you feel like there had to be some modicum of risk that you felt, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, they say the vast majority of businesses fail in the first 2
Right.
years. So
Yep.
yeah, it was scary for a long time. And
Okay.
you know, when you start up from scratch, we're a complete startup company. So
Sure.
my goal for the first several months was to write one invoice every day.
Okay.
Because the phone wasn't ringing, there was nobody
Sure.
there. That if we didn't go tell you, hey, we're in business,
Right.
we didn't get any. So
And it's interesting starting in a town that. How familiar were you with the Madison area?
none.
None.
No,
Okay. So no networking contacts, no
Not a
referral
one.
sources. Just
No.
here we go, cold into a town you never been.
Well, what we did was when we did our business plan, we did some researching and looked for demographics and such, and we looked for the biggest community we could find that didn't have a locksmith in town.
Oh,
Tried to fill a void.
interesting. Okay, sure.
And as it turned out, there used to be a locksmith in Stoughton.
Okay.
He moved to Edgerton,
Uh-huh.
and so that kind of left a void there. So
Sure.
we moved to Stoughton area and
Okay.
started there.
Sure. So 13 years ago, websites were a thing, right? Still going strong. Turns out they're not a fad.
Right?
So did you work on a web presence, or how did you bring in the business?
Initially, we didn't pay much attention to the web.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was all phone books. Having your smartphone and that access was not as big of a thing
Sure.
back then. So we
Sure.
put a lot more money into the phone book advertising. We do the parades and
Okay.
door hangers and
Sure.
keychains and stickers and whatever we can
Right.
think of.
All right.
But as time evolved, we definitely got away from the phone books and went more and more into the web-based advertising.
Sure. So now, where would you say most of your business comes from? Is it repeat clients or new clients? And then of those, do they find you or are reminded of you via new marketing, or is it just like, oh, Jake, I got his card here, I got his magnet, whatever?
Well, we do get a lot of repeat business. However, people don't need locksmiths on a regular basis.
Sure, if they're doing it right.
Right, yeah, unless they own an apartment complex or something to
Sure.
the sort. So you may need a locksmith once every 2 or 3 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
So because we do get such infrequent repeat business, a lot of our business is new customers, and
All right.
and that comes from a lot of, I'm locked out of my car at the grocery store or the gas station.
Sure.
You just grab your smartphone and Google Locksmith near me, and whoever pops up, you call them.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you work with AAA or any of those insurance company type places that help with
Yeah, absolutely.
issues?
Yeah, we are affiliated with AAA.
Okay.
And there are a couple other ones that we have tried in the past that haven't really panned out to be worthwhile. So
Gotcha.
AAA is really the only one that we're still doing consistently.
Gotcha. Okay. That's always something I remember. I had some junky cars in the past.
Okay.
And so I've probably borderline abused my AAA membership in some years past, I guess, in that regard.
Okay.
And I was talking with one of the drivers, one of the tow truck drivers, and he mentioned what they were getting paid for this. And I'm like, how are you making any money? It's got to be almost constant. It's just seemed unnaturally low to me.
It is, and unfortunately, their idea is we're going to give you such a volume of business that you need to give us this huge discount on the service price.
Mm-hmm.
And for certain aspects of AAA, we've had to say, no, we can't do that because I can't operate my business at the amount you're willing to pay for, so you can find somebody else to do it for that price because I can't.
That's interesting. Now, just about every service industry that I talk to, they have some Goliath type company that, like AAA or like there's other contracting companies that rely on individual service providers. When I had my printer repair business, it was the same thing, where they'd be willing to pay anyone. Like if you could fog a mirror and actually walk in a door, they would be willing to pay you, let's say, $30 to go fix this printer. I'm using air quotes here because we had one time that somebody had a plotter, right, that they went through like they paid extra for a warranty or something like that from whatever company. Whatever company didn't have printer repair technicians across the country, so they work with contracting company. Contracting company finds people like us.
Right.
They call you up and they're like, hey, we got this machine. We'll pay you like $6 to fix it or whatever. It's just something stupid. And you're like, no. And then you keep getting that same phone call for the same machine. And you keep thinking, like, it's been a month and a half. We've been getting this phone call every couple days.
Wow.
That means that either they're routinely sending people or they haven't found anybody. And I remember we finally agreed on this price. It was still dirt cheap. It was like $45 or something. Because it came to the point that I almost felt bad for whoever has this machine.
Right.
We just need to help him.
Right.
At a loss, just help him. So we go there, and my technician said that this guy was surprised that my technician had tools. Because the other people that had show up didn't even have tools. They had to borrow a screwdriver.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is just a bizarre thing, right? So from my end and your end, when you're in the service industry, and these other big Goliath companies make promises to people that they're relying on people like us to make, but we're not necessarily the ones making any of the money when it comes to this, right? They're trying to paint this rosy picture of, we'll get tons of business. You can sustain yourself on this.
Well, there are other companies that we work with, and I just generally call them nationwide service providers. And we've got probably a dozen or so that we've worked with in the past.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they're always trying to get a decent deal, but they usually ask me, what's your service call in your first hour rate?
Sure.
And I give them that price.
Okay.
And they either agree to it or decline it and send me out on site. And they're typically very easy to work with.
Oh, nice.
When I get there and I say, okay, I've been here an hour.
Yeah.
Here's what's wrong. I've got this part fixed. It's not completely fixed. I need to add another half an hour to get it completely fixed. Do you approve that? And they said, yeah, we approve it. And so we do the extra work, and they pay the extra money. And it all works out okay.
Well, very cool. Very cool. That's nice. And especially with something like locks where, like a printer, you just find somewhere else to print. But if you can't get in your door, that's a thing.
It does cause a problem sometimes.
What is your favorite thing about owning a business?
Well, owning your own business has a lot of extra benefits you don't initially think about.
Sure.
There's a lot of flexibility. If one of my sons or daughters has an issue at school or a play or something that I need to go to, I can just schedule myself around it and say I can go.
Sure. Nice.
As opposed to having to take off work and that kind of thing.
Sure. That makes sense. What's your least favorite thing about owning a business?
My least favorite thing about...
Presuming there's one.
I do enjoy having my own business, but the least favorite thing is probably having to... when I get home from work and I sit down and I relax and I'm ready to be home and my wife's happy to see me and the kids are all, let's play. and the phone rings.
There you go.
And then I'm like, gotta put my boots back on and go
Sure.
back on the snow. And
Sure.
so it's hard sometimes.
Okay. But that's still, so that reminds me sometimes of networking events and some things like that, right? When you're in a, let's call it an 8 to 5 job, office job, something like that, but it's still your own business and you have to go out and network, right? So you're thinking, oh, I'm in my car, I could go and I could go back home, play with my kid, be the family man, stuff like that. Or, you know, you got to grow the business somehow, so I could go network and stuff like that. And it's kind of that, at some point you have to shut it off, right? But it's very difficult. Sometimes you just can't if you want to maintain your business, right?
That's true. There is the opposite side of that coin too, though. When you have your own business, mine is a home-based business. So when things are slow, and I go home for lunch, and there's nothing on the schedule till 3:00.
Sure, you have some extra time.
Sit home for 3 hours.
Sure,
and that can be a distraction too.
Sure,
and sometimes is what's the word I'm thinking of? Tempting.
Sure,
sit back and do nothing.
Right.
So
it can be challenging to be idle, right?
Yep.
Or to avoid being idle sometimes. You have an employee.
I do.
Okay.
Fantastic employee.
When did you decide to hire an employee?
Well, we've tried several times to hire employees in the past. When my business kind of ebbs and flows, so when I get really busy, I get all stressed out, and I need somebody. I can't do it all. I need some help. And we start looking to hire somebody, and then we didn't find anybody at the time, and then things slow down, and now, okay, I can handle it again, and keep going that way until it gets busy again, and I get stressed out again. Eventually, my wife's like, "This is ridiculous. We are going to hire somebody."
All right. Your wife's a smart woman.
She is, I tell you. Good looking too.
Sure, nice.
So we spent about 2 years looking for somebody that we could actually.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, our industry is very. We have to be very cautious about the type of person we hire. Make sure ethics are there, and check out background and all that kind of thing. So
sure.
Yeah. So we spent a long time looking for somebody that we could trust and would do a good job, and thankfully we found one.
Nice. So tell me about the process of finding this employee. How did you advertise? What is interview process like? Tell me about some bad eggs, because those are always entertaining.
Well, so we started advertising online. We advertised through Facebook.
Okay.
We did. I can't remember the name of the. There's a big nationwide search for.
Like Indeed, or
yeah, Indeed. Thank you.
Okay.
Indeed. It was Indeed and Facebook, and our putting out the word through our local people around town.
Sure.
We got a lot of resumes back, especially the Indeed places. They'll send you 20 resumes, and and ours was, I was specifically looking for someone in Stoughton.
Okay.
We wanted to expand, so I knew I was going to be moving out of the area, but I wanted to make sure that my local community was taken care of.
Yep.
So that was our first requirement: was, do you live in Stoughton?
Sure.
And I'm getting resumes from people in Chicago. And
sure.
I'm like, how is this going to work?
Right. It's a quick commute. Right, 7 times a day.
That was challenging. And
gotcha.
I had numerous interviews. Interview process was difficult for us because we're a home-based business. So either I'm inviting a bunch of people over to my house to sit at my kitchen table, or we're going to coffee shops and trying to do an interview at a coffee shop.
Sure. Was there ever any challenge with people coming to your house and feeling, I don't know, maybe it's almost underwhelmed versus overwhelmed, right? They're coming to your house / business.
Right.
Versus going into a business right on Main Street somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. It made me feel a little uncomfortable because I'm trying to prevent a professional appearance. And when we're having an interview over at my kitchen table with my kids running in and out and the phone ringing and stuff, it didn't feel very professional.
Sure.
So that was uncomfortable to me.
That's fair.
How
totally
they
fair.
perceived it.
Yeah. The challenges of the small business, right? I've worked for some larger companies, but majority of my business life has been working for smaller companies. And I always wondered, if you're used to working for a Fortune 500 company, and then you come down to a smaller business, even if it's a smaller office, not even necessarily a home, what is your perception? Right? But I guess maybe that's changed since a lot of huge behemoth companies have folded in a matter of days anyway. So, so the loyalty or the strength of a big company isn't necessarily guaranteed like it used to be, or like it seemingly used to be. So it's interesting, the perception that people have on small business. So, and I imagine when you hired your employee, what did you say that the job entailed? Because it's him and you and your wife now, essentially, right?
Right.
So if something needs to happen, I imagine one of you has to do it.
Right. Yeah. So the job that he was hired for is very broad spectrum.
Sure.
Locksmithing can be segregated. If you're in a big enough community, you can say, I just do automotive, or I just do commercial, I just do safes.
Okay.
But because our community was so small, we have to do kind of everything.
Sure.
So, on the same day, we can go and install a deadbolt, make keys for our car, fix a safe door it's not working.
All right.
And do a lockout of somebody locked out of their bedroom.
Oh, interesting. All right. So you get the whole gamut.
Right.
Yep. Was there a lot of training that had to happen, or did you guys?
For sure. Yeah, It took months. When we initially hired our employee, it was in December.
Okay.
And we spent at least 4 months. It was April, I believe, when we bought our second truck, so that we could run different directions. And he just came with me every day, and I made him drive so I could do my emailing and dispatching and all the estimates and stuff in the passenger seat. And when we get to the job, we both put on tool belts, and I'd say, okay, you take off this lock, I'd take off this lock, and bring back the truck, and here's how I do this, here's how I do that, and I've never seen this before, here's how this comes apart.
Sure. Put
it back together, and away you go. Next time you can do it yourself.
Nice.
And I'll sit back and watch, and if you have questions, I'm right here, and if not, you go for it.
Okay. Was there any challenge finding someone that was personable? Because you're in a service industry, and personality is a huge facet of the game.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of different variations of people, and it's hard to get a good, decent read off of them in just a 15, 20-minute interview.
Sure.
So, when we were in our hiring process, we did a lot of looking around on Facebook pages and profiles and seeing what the types of things they're into, and where they went out drinking last weekend or didn't go out drinking last weekend, that type of stuff.
Right.
And then we had to follow up with the references that they listed and call them, and would you feel comfortable giving this person your debit card and sending them to the gas station to fill up your car with gas, and trusting that he would come back with just gas and not anything else for him personally, and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did you ever run into any challenges when you thought you had a person but you just ran into a personality issue or some history that you didn't want to deal with the baggage or anything of that nature?
None that we actually hired.
Okay.
No, but there were some candidates that applied that after looking at their background history, I'm like, this just isn't going to fit.
Sure. The trust isn't there, or the presentation that they have to, because these are presenting your company, right?
Yeah, that's a huge thing for me to try to let go of, because I've been building the business on my reputation and my word and my promises over the past 12 years. And then when we add someone else to it, I have to entrust that to them and say, you are representing me and my family and my business and the baby that I built and raised for the last 12 years. I'm handing it to you. And it's scary. It really is.
That's very true. Very true. I was talking with some people, larger companies, typically we call tech support or something like that. And they say, oh, that's not my department. I don't take care of that. And they try to pass you on to someone else.
Right.
And I'm thinking, you represent the company, right? I can't call, let's say, Pepsi or something like that, right? There's no Oz.
Right.
I'm talking to individual people that make up the company. So if you're the one answering the phone, or you're the one showing up to do the service, as far as I'm concerned, you are the company. So it's interesting talking to people who are just like, pass the buck, pass the buck, pass the buck.
Yeah.
When in a small business, you don't get to do that.
No, I've often said that in order to be successful in business, you only need to make one customer happy. That's whichever customer you're standing in front of.
Sure. Perfect. I like it.
So
that's awesome. What are some things that you've learned from working with an employee that you didn't necessarily know were things?
I need to slow down.
Okay.
I've been doing this for so long that things just, they're second nature. I just do them, and here's how you do this, and here's how you do that. Okay. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I need to see that one more time. let me try it a couple times. And so I take for granted the abilities I've gotten over the years. It's hard to remember that not everyone goes to sleep knowing how to take this lock apart.
So
you got to slow down to teach it.
Okay, so from an educational standpoint, you were just so used to working super speedy. They're just like, you just waved your hand and all of a sudden this lock is fixed.
Right, yeah. Well, in my business, I don't get paid by the hour. So if someone calls and asks for something and I say no, that job's gone. I don't get it back. So I need to make sure I can keep up with as much things as I can do, which typically means going through it as fast as possible. And my employee gave me the nickname, the Bullet.
That's awesome. It beats being called the Brick. Right. You are so slow. So I always like to ask people the metaphor that they use for their employees, right? Their business as a whole. Would you consider your employees to be family, friends, part of a team, or is it just merely transactional? You do a job, I pay you, rinse, repeat.
Oh, I would say we are friends bordering on family.
Okay.
It's because we are such a small company,
Mm-hmm.
and I own the business. When he says I need a day off or I got a doctor appointment for this,
Sure.
it's cool, no
Okay.
problem. I got you covered.
Just make it happen.
Yep. And when my back goes out and I can't get off the floor, I'm like, man, can you cover me around? Yeah, sure, I got you. So it's a very intimate, close working relationship.
Sure. Very cool. Very cool. This one's always kind of fun. What is the most expensive mistake that you have ever made in business? Everybody's made some, so an expensive being a relative term. Right?
Right. Oh, that's a good question. I should have been thinking about this before. There's been numerous automobiles that we tried to program
Okay.
that don't go well.
All right.
And the machine that I have is like a pay per use.
Okay.
So each time you try to program a key and it doesn't work, you pay for it, whether it works or not. And so there have been times when there's an issue with the car, there's an issue with the key. Sometimes it's just defective, and I
Sure.
try 3 or 4 times to program and end up spending a lot of money and time and frustration and phone calls, tech support, and it doesn't work.
Sure.
And you're just out that money.
All right. It just stacks up.
Yep.
Thanks for playing. Okay. That's probably, I wonder if it's programmed in there.
I don't know.
I always joked about there's some printers that I used to work on that they were, for the most part, they were decent machines, but they were very common, and they had some very common issues.
Okay.
And those common issues, you'd make, let's say, $100 each time that common issue would happen, right? And I was thinking, man, this is kind of a piece of junk printer. Why does this thing always go bad? But I'm thinking, like, without this machine, it probably makes up 5% of my total revenue for the past year.
Right.
So maybe I'm okay with this gear being kind of a poor design, right? It was one of those, like, I don't know how to feel about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's just how it goes. Do you have a favorite customer story?
Favorite customer story. I do have a favorite story. It actually happened to be from my mother-in-law, but we were at Thanksgiving dinner, and there was multiple different family members there, and someone had helped out by putting the turkey was done, but they put it back in the oven to keep it warm while the rest of the things were getting prepared.
Sure.
And their oven at home had a lock on it.
Okay.
So when you close the door, you slide the bar over and it locks the door, and so the kids can't get in and whatnot.
Sure.
My mother-in-law had a similar system, except her lock was tied to the self-cleaning feature on the stove.
Sure.
So once you flip the lever, it locks the door, and it won't unlock it until the oven temperature is down to a safe temperature.
Okay.
So the turkey was done. We couldn't get it out of the oven because it was locked, and the rest of everybody's trying to eat, and they're like, "Jay, can you unlock a stove?" I'm like, "Well, I've been asked to unlock a lot of things, but not a stove before." But
Sure.
so I ended up taking the stove apart and figuring out how to get it unlocked and
Oh, that's awesome.
save Thanksgiving dinner.
Nice. Woo! And turkey was very hot.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I did notice in your message and on your business cards that it's not huge, but it's a minor thing where you mention religion or your faith. Has there ever been any challenges with that, or can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, we are a Christian-based business.
Okay.
Thankfully, I haven't had any stories of situations where that caused a problem.
Okay.
We do have several different customers. I've got Buddhist temples and
Sure.
other places that aren't Christian at all that still hire our services, and I just go there, and when I'm done, he says, "Buddha bless you," and I say, "God bless you too. Have a wonderful day."
Sure.
And so it hasn't caused major problems. I have no idea how much business I may have lost by having that, if
Or gained, right?
or gained. I know I've gained some because I've people mention it and they're like, "Oh, I like the scripture in your
Sure.
truck. It's cool.
Okay.
I heard you on Life 1 2.5 or
Sure.
that type of thing." So I'm sure it's helped.
Okay.
And if it's hurt, I don't care.
Gotcha. Fair. Totally fair. That's always one of those things. Like I tell my crew, I'm like, religion and politics, just don't touch that.
Right.
So, but we take care of a lot of just this gamut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some, I'm always curious, I guess, for that. And then there's other businesses you hear about, whether it's a political donation or it's people picketing or something like that for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's just always one of those curious things that I just wonder. right? Good or bad or whatever. It's just one of those, a curious thing. Tell me about the relationship that you have with some of your competitors. I hear in some industries, I used to joke with printer repair, right, that it would be safer to sell crack than to fix printers because I felt like it was so brutal.
Oh, yeah.
But there's other industries where, like, I see virtual administrators. I swear to God, they go out for wine together all the time, and they're essentially direct competitors.
Sure.
So different industries seem to be different ways in different areas and stuff like that. So I'm curious, what is your relationship with some of the competitors that you have?
Sure. Well, locksmithing in general used to be very separate. I do my thing, you do your thing, and we don't share information, period.
Okay.
Thankfully, in the last 10, 15 years, that's really changed a lot. And people find out that, hey, if everybody knows more, everybody wins more and gains more.
Yep.
So in my personal life, I try very hard not to burn bridges and keep up good relationships with everybody that I have.
Sure.
And so that's translated into my business world as well. Like I said, when I left my previous locksmith job, I left that relationship very well. And it's to the point now where if he's got a tool that I need, I go borrow it. And if I got something he needs, he comes borrow it.
Very cool.
So it works very well to have one hand wash the other and
Sure.
try to help out everybody you can. So
very cool.
And there's times that I just can't get the jobs. I can't be in two places at once. So
Right.
when I get busy, I'm like, I'm sorry. You're on the west side, call this guy. You're on the east side, call that guy. And somebody will come and help you out because I can't at the moment.
Sure. So you can refer back and forth.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that works very well. Then every once in a while you get a vacation.
Yeah, and it happens the same way. I get a call from a customer and it said, I was over here and such a guy gave me your name and he was busy and he said you might be able to help me out. Or
Sure.
he knows you do safes and he doesn't. And
Right.
can you help me with this? And so
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. I always like to ask business owners, what is their secret to making big decisions?
Prayer.
Okay.
I use the 3P system, patience, perseverance, and prayer. And that gets me through a lot of my struggles and difficulties. And thankfully, I've got a very level-headed business partner, my wife, to bounce things off of.
Sure.
And
sounds like it.
I've got lots of business friends. My father owns his own business and has for years and years and years. So,
Sure.
I've got lots of people in the area I can bounce things off of and say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Sure.
Here's what I want to do. Do you think it's going to fail or not?
Okay. Perfect. So outside of actually starting your business, do you have any decisions that you're just like, that was the right one? You made the right decision. That's a huge accomplishment.
Well, definitely so far getting an employee.
Okay, great.
That's definitely fallen in that category. It's because for a long time it was just myself. And I was trying to think, would it be better to hire an employee? Everyone says employees are either wonderful or they're awful, and they can make or break your business. And with just one employee, with myself, that's a huge deal because we're either two of us strong or not.
Or 1 week.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I was worried about spending a lot of time training and just have things not work out, and you have to let him go and start the process all over, looking for another guy, and taking months, and then months more training, and so that's it's definitely worked out fantastically so far.
Nice. I always wonder. You mentioned the statistic about most businesses failing, essentially in the first couple of years, which is an interesting statistic, and I wonder how many of those businesses started out and they were going strong. They hired an employee. That employee dropped the ball, and then the person owning it that started it was like, you know what, it's not worth the pain, or they just couldn't because a replacement employee wasn't available as quickly as they wanted to,
right?
Or maybe that employee cost them so much money that was just like, we got to dig ourselves out of this hole before we keep going.
Right.
It's interesting how the statistic is like, oh, look at all these business owners that failed. But you wonder how much of that is outside of their control, right?
Yeah.
To a point. I mean, in the end, they hired the employees, so you could argue both ways. But I just feel like the businesses that I have, and just about every business, I can see how, like you said, employees can make or break a business. And I'm not sure if most employees understand either the power / responsibility that they have, right? Yeah. Like, do you know how big of a deal this is? Because it's on you to make sure that you're taking care of their livelihood.
Right.
But vice versa as well, right?
Yeah.
They dropped the ball that's your livelihood, and arguably on a larger scale since you took the risk of starting the business and have more invested in it.
Very true. And one employee can make all the difference. Just today, for instance, I won't name the name of the restaurant, but I went to a fast food restaurant on the way here, and there was one employee that shone and stood out above all the rest of them.
Nice.
And my whole experience today at that restaurant was based on him and his performance and the way that he did his job. There was 1,600 people running around. I didn't see any of them. I saw what he did, and it was obvious that they've got a gem in him as an employee. And
Sure.
I'm looking to write a review for that experience today. So
nice. I always pay attention to people like that and think someday I'm going to hire you.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna steal you from your current position.
Yeah, that's we can help them that way. Do you have a favorite business book?
I don't like to read.
You do not like to read?
I don't like to read.
What about books on CD or podcast or anything?
No, I've tried a couple books on CD, and my phone rings so often it's difficult to be able to pay attention to it. And
sure.
I have been given numerous books by numerous different people, and the Bible is the only one I can read on a regular basis.
Oh my gosh, you're talking to an author, so you're cutting me deep here, but that's fair. That's totally fair.
Just being honest.
That's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. How do you relax? You mentioned relaxing, so kick back in your chair. What is the thing that you're like, finally I get to?
Oh, I tell you what, every night at 9 o'clock, tuck my daughter into bed, say her prayers. My son's usually off at work. My wife and I sit down on the couch, watch our Netflix show, and that 42 minutes is my time to just sit and relax and unwind. And I'm very, very partial to that segment of the evening.
Just recharge your batteries.
Yeah.
Sure. Sitting with your wife watching a show, so you don't even necessarily have to have much conversation going on.
No, she's just snuggling on my arm, and we watch our show and just be together.
A little bit of chill time?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Because I just get bombarded with emails and phone calls and voicemails and estimates and driving back and forth and all day long, and how quickly can you get here? And it's just nice to sit down and relax. And
do you ever have a hard time shutting it off?
It depends on who you talk to. If you ask my wife, yes, I have a very hard time shutting it off. And I because of my nature of liking to helping people, it is hard to say no. When somebody calls and they're crying and I need this situation fixed, and can you please fix my locks tonight? Sure. I have a hard time saying no. So yeah, I do have a hard time shutting it. But having an employee has been so beneficial to be able to say, he's on call 2 nights a week. I'm on call 2 nights a week, and I don't have to worry about it.
Very cool.
For that amount of time. So that's been helpful to give me a little bit more downtime and relax. So
nice.
That's been awesome.
All right. Where's the last place that you went to vacation?
Last place I went to, I don't get a regular annual vacation. Last time,
even if it's every 5 years, right? You've been in business 13.
Right. We went to. Where do we go?
Somewhere United States or somewhere south or Europe?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, okay.
My wife's brother was stationed there.
Okay.
And met a girl, and they got married, and we went down for the wedding.
Oh, nice. How long were you down there?
It was only a few days.
Okay. Was it tough being away?
It's really tough. My business, we were gone for like a week, shut down for a week, and that month, my revenue was half what it normally was. So even though I was gone for a quarter of the month, I lost a half of a month in revenue. So I don't know how that happens or how that works. Sure. But it did.
Was that pre-employee or post? Pre-employee.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm gone, I'm shut down, I'm closed.
So you were the business, gone for a week, and just terrible month. Terrible month. Okay. Yeah. So, hopefully that didn't teach you never go on vacation again.
No, it taught me to get an employee.
I love that. High five there.
Give me a call if you have a problem. I'm going to
love that. So I like to ask this question here. If you knew that success in one new idea that you would have in your business, that something that you've been considering, right, kicking around, but you haven't acted on it yet. If you were guaranteed that it would be successful, what idea do you have milling around in your head that you would act on? If you were guaranteed success with it?
We are currently facing the possibility of hiring another employee.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's that entails purchasing another truck.
Yep.
All the training that goes along with it, all the equipment for the truck.
Sure.
And then figuring out where to put them.
Okay.
Which side of our service area to put them on.
Okay, as far as location.
Right.
Okay.
So that's it's another addition to payroll and trying to figure out, can we bring in enough business to support the extra expense and training and payroll and everything to make it work. So Yeah, that's another bubble I'm sitting on, trying to figure out. We're headed that direction. Just when to pull the trigger is hard to know because I'm not busy enough to need them today.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm never going to get busy enough to need them unless I have them.
Right.
So do you hire them? Do you wait until you're so busy you can't?
Sure.
You don't have time to train them before
Yep.
you hire them, or do you hire them first and hope the work follows them afterwards? So
Right.
I struggle with that decision, hiring our first employee a long time.
Sure. So when you talk about location, your employee number 1 right now is in Stoughton.
Correct.
Where are you based out of?
The Sun Prairie area.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so you have to figure out where employee number 2 would be, guy number 3,
the
girl.
idea right now is that Sun Prairie is about 3 times the size of Stoughton.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
the idea is if I can build our presence up in Sun Prairie enough to keep somebody there busy,
Mm-hmm.
I can hire a guy in the Sun Prairie area to stay there,
Okay.
and then I can sit back and do the dispatching and estimates and
Gotcha.
running parts
Okay.
back and forth and putting
Sure.
out fires, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, I know the fire part. Totally get that.
Right.
Tell me a story about the marketing that has worked for you and even some of the marketing or advertising that you've done that did not work.
Well, I tell you what, when we first started, what we did was we did a little 1/3 page flyer front and back.
Okay.
And we walked around door to door to businesses and just said, hey, we're new in the area. We just started up. Here's a card
Sure.
and a little flyer. Let me know
Okay.
if I can help you out.
Yeah.
And about 3 years later, I had people that would call and say, hey, you were in the other day and you left this flyer. I'm like, that was like 3 years ago. You still got
The other
that?"
day.
Yeah, right. So they kept it, and that shocked me. So
That's awesome.
that worked very well, and it was one of the cheaper things we did. But
Okay.
just getting that face-to-face presence.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Jake. Nice to meet you. I'm in town. I'm new. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
That worked out very well. But since then, we've done everything you can think of minus a television commercial.
Okay.
We've done radio. We've done parades. We've done Chamber of Commerce, everything.
Sure.
And it all works a little bit.
Sure. Do you ever try to keep track of how people found you?
Yeah, we did. We tried doing different phone numbers that we could track easier, promo codes, and,
Sure.
and this and that. And it was difficult, especially with the phone number thing, because you set out a special phone number that you can track, and that's great. But then people save that number, and then 2 years
That
from
number
now,
goes
you're
away.
not running that anymore.
Sure.
So yeah, so we tend to shy away from that.
Gotcha.
But nowadays, it tends to be more web-based. Search engine optimization and that kind of stuff that
Sure.
help get your Google AdWords and things like that to
Sure.
help get your searches up online.
Okay. What is your website?
www.locksandunlocks.com.
Okay.
And is spelled out A-N-D.
Okay. No dashes, no hyphens,
Nope.
just locksandunlocks.com.
Yep.
Smooth and easy, one word.
Piece of cake.
Perfect. Okay. Did you have any challenges putting a website together?
Well, initially, I had a friend of the family who did website development, kind of on a side hobby, if you will.
Sure.
And he said, hey, can I put a website together for you for practice? And I said, I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
Sounds like about
right.
how much I need to spend on it. Because at the time, when we started 10 years ago, web thing wasn't that big of a deal. So I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And
Sure.
he put a website together, and we had it for, probably 8 or 9 years.
Oh, wow.
And then, we never updated or changed anything. It just sat there. And,
Sure.
And then we decided we want to do more with the web, so we actually hired somebody to revamp it and
Okay.
just a whole new design and new pictures and update everything and all that
Sure.
kind of stuff. And that worked out pretty well. Helped out. We got good comments on it.
Sure.
And then I met someone else at a referral group, and they said, "Oh, you're paying a lot for your monthly web hosting charge.
Sure.
We can, cut that in half. We just have to redo your website again." And so yeah, I redid it again, and by the time it was all said and done, I was paying basically the same amount a month I was before.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, well, I think we're on our 3rd website now.
Okay. All right. But you get business from there.
For sure. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. And they're, I imagine that locks themselves are changing or evolving. I know cars, with all that they have going on, it's not just a metal key anymore, right?
No, definitely not. They've got little computers that are attached to your key now, so it does get confusing and expensive and more difficult to make car keys. So.
Sure. Is there a training aspect where you have to maintain training or get more training every year or quarter?
Yeah. There are annual events that we go to for continuing education. We've got one coming up in March. We're going to Florida, actually. It's a thing called Just Cars.
Oh, nice.
And that's all they do is teach you about how to program cars and the new equipment that's come out and new vehicles and new key cutting stuff and how to program it, and always trying to stay up to date with the new stuff that's coming out with car manufacturers. They change all the time.
Is there ever a point where there's a piece of equipment that is needed to unlock a specific type of car, but the car is so rare that it's not worth getting, or you have to find one person in town that has it? Or
absolutely, there are several things like Jaguars and Porsches and stuff like that. I don't get enough call of it to warrant spending the thousands and thousands of dollars it takes to get the equipment to be able to do it. So I just say no.
Gotcha. Okay, easy enough, right? You're one of 5 people in the city that has that car.
Right.
Most of the other guys don't lock themselves out. So
you can go back to the dealership and pay the prices.
All right. Yeah. Interesting. So as far as the key fobs and stuff like that, you take care of those as well?
Absolutely. We've grown tremendously in that aspect of our business in the last few years because they are getting more prevalent, and a lot of places like used car dealerships and even individual people will say, I don't want to go to a dealer and pay $300 for a key. That's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to pay that much for a key. So they start looking for other options. Mm-hmm. So we can get refurbished keys and factory original keys as well, and cut them and program them cheaper than you typically can at the dealership.
Oh, that's very cool.
We can do it on site the same day. And if you happen to go grocery shopping and you lose your keys, your options are either tow it to the dealership, wait for them to get to it, pay whatever ridiculous amount they charge you for it, and drive it away.
Okay.
Or we can come out on site that day, cut it, program it, and you drive it home.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because we did not talk about you being mobile. Mm-hmm. That's a whole new game. So can you talk about what you have to cruise around with?
Sure. We've got 2 service trucks. They're both fully loaded and stocked. They've got all the equipment in there to be able to do virtually any job that comes our way. Okay. Whether it's installing a deadbolt on a house or making keys for a car or drilling open a safe. We've got 2 mobile service shops. Sure. And it's surprising how many people are surprised, almost shocked, that I can cut a key in my truck. Right. When I go rekey at locks, I say, it comes with 2 keys. Would you like any more? They say, well, I really need 4, but I'll take it somewhere else and get a couple copies of this. And I'm like, well, how about I just make them right now? And they're like, what, like in your truck? I'm like, yeah, like I make keys for a living. That's what I do. And they're like, you're kidding. Can I watch? Huh. Yeah, sure.
So you're the key master. That's awesome. The key master. That's pretty cool. So that means your truck has to weigh a lot. Have a lot of metal in there.
Brass is heavy. Yeah. Brass is heavy.
And is there a volume? I imagine there's different brands of locks and stuff like that take different key blanks now, or?
For sure. I actually tried to reduce the number of keys that I've got in the newer truck. The previous truck I had, we counted them up, and there's about 10,000 keys in that truck.
10,000.
Mm-hmm. Not 10,000 different ones. Some I have multiple ones of this particular one, but yeah, there's lots of different keys in there. So I tried to narrow it down, and I've only got about 2,000 keys in my new truck.
That's still like 2,000. That's an insane number. Yeah. Wow. All right, and that's on top of having other stuff, just other equipment.
For sure, yeah, all the key coding equipment and programmers and lock picks and such. Yeah.
So organizing a truck is a pain, I imagine. I know when I had my printer repair company, just organizing tools in a tool bag was a challenge for a lot of my technicians. Right. I don't know if they ever solved it. So it's to the point where I tried to systematize it for them. Now you got trucks, and trucks versus like a toolkit is just a bag, right? Right. Where a truck, you're mobile. There's going to be emergency stops every once in a while where you want to make sure you don't rear end somebody. Right. Everything comes sliding forward. Right. You're taking corners, right? You're actually having to drive on the highway. So that means that you have to have all these thousands of key blanks and all the equipment stationary as possible.
Yeah, packed away.
So is that a challenge, coming up with ways to hold stuff in there?
It can be. Thankfully, I have a wonderful wife who's fantastic at organizing.
if you Superwoman here.
If you don't have a wife like mine, you need to get one.
All right.
So, yeah, roundabouts suck. Just left and right and left and right, and everything's swaying. And I don't like roundabouts. Okay. Although they do keep traffic flowing smooth, I'll give them that. But, yeah, they're torture on a service truck.
Okay, I bet just the size alone You got to fit in the lane around the corner with some people that are afraid of them.
Right. For the size requirement, the reason I have problems with my truck is it's too tall.
Oh.
I can't fit into parking garages. So a lot of places in Madison, they lose their key. They're on the third floor of the parking garage. I got to park somewhere in the vicinity, run up 3 flights of stairs, try this key. I'm missing 2 cuts. I got to run back down, try this cut, run back up. It's
interesting.
It can be a hassle.
And then they say, "Oh, I want 2 more."
Once I got one made, I can just zip out copies. That's not a big deal. But
sure.
Sometimes the process of making it, typically we work from the door to the ignition, and often in the door they've got 8 of the 10 cuts, so you're missing a couple. So you got a little trial and error there. So sometimes there's some running back and forth.
Interesting. Holy cow! I never even thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody has a problem downtown, is it a challenge to find parking for your truck?
Challenge is always a parking downtown. I don't like going downtown if I don't have to.
Okay, sure.
Is what it is. Thankfully, because I do have a well-lettered service truck with lights and stuff that flash on it, I can pretty much pull up anywhere, throw the lights on, and I don't get towed.
Gotcha. Just like the FedEx or UPS driver or something like that.
I'm only here temporarily, and I have to be right here. I can't go 3 blocks away and do my job, so deal with it.
Sure, you're just making it work. Everybody's doing their job. Just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Right. Right.
Nice. So would you ever consider starting a different business, or did you consider starting a different business besides locksmithing, or was it locksmithing, you were good at it, so let's just run with that?
I never seriously considered starting another business, although I do have a idea in mind for a business I think would be a fantastic idea. I don't want to say it on the air because someone else might take it. But
that's all right.
In the event that I have too much time and money on my hands to know what to do with, I'm going to try this venture out.
All right, we'll come back in a year, right? That's awesome. So tell me, if I were to ask your wife, what is the one thing that she would change about you in regards to business? Because I imagine there's other stuff. We don't want to talk about that here. Mm-hmm. What do you think she would say? She
would say he needs to learn how to say no.
Oh, powerful. Yeah. Very powerful. Yeah. What if we asked your employee the same thing?
I did recently, actually. Okay. He had a review, and one of the answers that he said is that I need to have more time for dispatching. Really? Yeah.
By he means you.
He means myself, yeah.
Okay.
Because I typically take the calls and do dispatching and put the notes on the jobs. And when he first started, I had lots of time because I was sitting in the passenger side. So he's like, okay, we need to go here and rekey 3 locks and 2 keys, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's like, go to this address, ask for Joe. He'll tell you what to do. Oh. So he's like, I'd like to have some more information about what I'm going to do before I get there so I can be prepared. So yeah, but it's difficult to try to drive and email and estimate and do all these things and actually do the job as well at the same time. So I get shortchanged for time, and sometimes the dispatch board takes the hit.
Okay. So that's fair. That's totally fair. And then roundabouts come about.
Right.
Come on, I'm trying to do 17 things here. That's awesome. So tell us about your favorite customer, favorite type of customer. If the ideal person called right now, or maybe let's call it 10 minutes from now,
right?
Would it be a lock, like a door, or would it be a car or safe, right? Somebody's saying, hey, I'm at a bank with a ski mask. Would you help me out a little bit?
Right. I like safe work. It's one of the areas that I really enjoy. But that's not my ideal customer. The ideal customer I have is extremely appreciative.
Okay.
I'll tell you a quick story. I had a guy, we put a video on my website of how to change the codes on an electronic lock.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's easy to do, but if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it. So I just direct people to the website and here, watch the video, and there you go. I had a guy from Michigan call me and say, I just watched your video. It was so helpful. I finally got this thing figured out. I couldn't figure it out for days. Can I send you a bottle of wine or something? I just want to say thanks.
Sure.
Like, well, I would just rather have you write a review on Google. But
right.
This is what my wife likes. And I've had people from Scotland call me and watch the different video of how when your key won't turn in your ignition, here's what you can do to try to get it unstuck just to get you to a repair shop so you don't have to have it towed.
Yeah.
You're not stranded.
Right.
And they watch that, and he's like, I live way out in the boonies. I'm 3 hours from town, and you just saved me 2 days worth of this and $1,000 tow charge. And thank you so much for this video.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
And you know, I'll never meet the guy. I didn't get a penny from him or anything. But it's just really nice to be able to help people. And that's why our business motto is that we are in the business of helping people. Mm-hmm. We just happen to know a lot about locks, keys, and safes.
That is so fantastic that you say that, because like I got my business Calls on Call, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell my receptionist, I'm like, that is the name of the game. the only thing that we do is help people.
Mm-hmm.
We just happen to do it by answering phones, right? So it's interesting. You're in the business of helping people, just happen to be with their locks, right?
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of service businesses that don't quite understand that that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
You're just helping people
focus on how quick can I make this dollar and get to the next guy.
Yep.
It's just like, if people don't know how much you care, they don't care how much you know.
Right. Perfect. That's fantastic. I love that. Well done.
So,
Very cool.
We even got the help thing incorporated into our phone number. We got a Stoughton number
I saw that.
and a Sun Prairie number, so it's either 877-HELP or 837-HELP.
Very cool. Huh. Was that tough to get?
Actually, that's not what I wanted.
Oh, okay.
We when we moved to Stoughton, we tried all the local exchanges for 877 lock or safe or keys. All this stuff was all already in use by other people. Just happened to have that particular number.
Sure.
And help was like our fifth choice.
Sure.
But it ended up being a great thing to build our business off of. So
Hey man, it's practical.
Someone's got a plan that I didn't know about.
Sure, right? So 837-HELP.
Right.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
You and I guess myself have a business expo coming up
Yes.
Thursday the 18th.
Yes.
So if people are listening to this and it's past January 18th of 2018,
You missed it.
then yeah, sorry you missed it. See you again the next January. But this is going to air on Wednesday.
Right.
I guess it is Wednesday, so it's going to air later today. So there's still a chance for people to get in there. Can
For
you
sure.
just touch on it a little bit?
Yeah, the SMBA, the South Metropolitan Business Association, has a business expo Thursday night from 4 to 7 at the Coliseum Bar.
Okay.
I personally have had a booth at it several years, and it's a fantastic time to go and network, meet a lot of people, bring a lot of business cards, and make some connections and,
Sure.
and talk to people. And it's just they've got free beer and
Right there, you got a bunch of
appetizers
people.
and-
Right?
yeah, free beer samples. Yeah, so yeah, it's a great time to go out, and I highly recommend you spend a couple hours and go check it out.
How many-
Door prizes.
Do you know just ballpark how many booths they have signed up for? The vendor booths?
I know their goal was 60.
Okay.
Last I heard, we had 10 left, but that was a couple weeks ago, and as everyone
Sure.
tends to procrastinate to the last minute.
Yeah,
they
it
could barely
turns
get going
out.
Right now, so
Turns
somewhere between
out.
50 and 60.
Nice. And then number of people that they push through the door there. Do you know?
It's right around 300.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
And every single booth has at least one prize, if not more than one prize.
I believe so. Yeah.
So you're talking, you have a 1 in 4 chance of winning something.
Right. Unless you come to the locks and unlocks booth, then you have to get lucky, because we've got 5 different locks set up,
Yeah.
and we've got 5 keys. There's 1 key for each lock on a ring. If you pick out the right key and the right lock and it works, you win a prize.
Really? Oh, that's fantastic. That's smart. I like that. Well, cool. I appreciate you stopping by here. I got to figure out how to work some radio buttons here.
No problem.
So
Thanks for having me.
Bear with me. This is fun. And what is your phone number one more time?
608-877-4357. It spells help.
Gotcha.
And our local Sun Prairie number is 837-4357.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. I am James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of The Bold Business Book. We'd like to thank you for listening and our guest, Jake Madison of Locks and Unlocks. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as the sunprairiemediacenter.com. And we can also be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link on drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Stay awesome and enjoy the process.
People shopping